All right, it has been just about 24 hours since I put this in here. It was only supposed to be 12 hours, but I had work today, and so that didn't get done until after work. But anyway, got the toaster running. It has my spool in it, just like I started in the last vlog, and I've been able to keep this toaster at a really nice 80 to 90 degrees Celsius mark, and it's been hovering there for the whole time. I think it's ready to go. Now I am going to run this first on my FLSUN. Good proximity, and I'm already printing something on my Ender 5 Plus, so I'm going to do the FLSUN first. I have my FIXDRY filament dryer here on the other side. If you haven't seen that already, I have a whole video on this FIXDRY filament dryer. Anyway, it is ready to go. It's ready to move that from here to here. And I've actually redone the filament path, which normally the filament goes up on top of the machine, and I've redone the filament path to actually just take it straight from the box to the print head, meaning that there's no place that the filament itself will be open. I haven't done this before. Hopefully this isn't a problem. Last part of the equation, I wanted to make sure that this filament dryer stays as dry as possible during the process. So I'm not just relying on the filament dryer to keep the moisture out. I'm actually bought some of these dry tote rechargeable desiccant packs. These are 100 grams each, and I think I can fit 2 of these in there just to make sure. This is a 5-pack, so this will be plenty. I'm going to put 2 of those in there with it, so let's go ahead and do that first. And these are really cool. These were invented by a teacher, a school teacher, and you can get these on Amazon. These are dry totes. I'm going to put 2 of them in there. They have these nice indicators on here that you can tell if they need recharging. These go from blue to pink, I believe, and then these are rechargeable in the microwave. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pop open my filament dryer, and I'm going to go ahead and put these on the sides, and then let's go ahead. Luckily, one thing I like about this, it took a minute to actually get this to hover in the right temperature range, but what's really nice is there are multiple ways to turn this off. So I can actually turn off the timer knob without touching my temperature gauge, which means my temperature should stay exactly where I want it to for future runs. And as I mentioned, I did put an external temperature gauge on here because I did not trust just setting it in the right range and assuming everything went to plan. So there we go. This should be hot, hopefully not too hot to touch. I'm about to find out. No, that seems to be hot, but it's just cardboard, so it's not too bad. All right, so I'm gonna get this out of here. Definitely worked. You can't see the label on here anymore because that was a heat label. Same thing here, that heat label is nice and toasty. I'm going to go ahead and get my filament started. Let's move this over to here. It is nice and toasty. Right, that should be ready to feed in. I feed it out the top of the filament dryer. And this is a yellow PTFE tube from Capricorn. This is some special, slightly wider diameter PTFE tube. And then I should be able to come down here and press load. Yep, and that loads up, pushes out the old filament. I gotta get this lid that this one came with doesn't really fit very well for some reason. It's a little warped or something. That's fine, it'll keep it from overdoing it. All right, everything I think is in place now. I'm actually going to do a little bit more extruding just to get it good and primed. So first print on here, I'm actually going to print something that's relatively small. I don't want to go overboard. I'm going to make sure this system works okay. So I didn't want to start with the helmet or anything crazy like that. I'm just doing the bottom of the chest piece, which should be sized well according to all of my test prints that I showed you. So let's get that printing on here. Hopefully everything goes to plan. I'll be able to tell if the filament is staying dry and good to go the whole time. If that one prints right, I'm probably going to go ahead and just try to finish off the chest and see how that goes. A little scary because this means that the armor starts coming together. Final pieces, I have to try to anneal these, make sure they're maintaining their size and shape, which I should be able to do a lot in this toaster and not have to utilize my main oven. And then after that, I will see how the annealed pieces sand okay. Anyway, let me stop talking and get to printing. All right, real quick, it's all done. This only took, how long did it take? 3 hours and 6 minutes. Let's see how it turned out. Interesting. This one actually turned out pretty good. It's still warm. Just finished. Okay, that's good. So, looks pretty good. It is not my favorite texture. I think it is either slightly under or slightly over extruded, I believe. I would say probably under slightly, but the supports are, see if they come off without too much difficulty. Yeah, well, those are good. And yeah, those are looking really nice, giving that a good hard edge on the bottom. And then see if this comes off. There's a bit of a pattern here. I think that probably comes from the over or under extrusion. It's not a big deal. It's a very small piece to begin with. So I'm going to get this off of here, take a look at the overall part, then probably do a couple more test prints on this machine. I've actually only printed like one other thing in carbon fiber on this machine before, so it definitely needs just a little bit of tuning, but overall I'm happy with how that printed. It needs a little bit of cleanup, but overall it looks really good. Let me do some test prints on this one. I will do some extrusion tests, make sure that that looks good, make sure I'm happy with it. And then I'll just use this as a test piece for some annealing and some sanding. It'll give me a good flat surface to see how much work this is going to be to actually get it to sand properly. And I'll show you some more results in a bit. All right, so I got the supports off and it is for the most part cleaned up. I didn't worry about getting all the little pieces. I'll do that when I sand it. And obviously this was a piece that didn't turn out exactly like I wanted to, which is why I'm still running a few more test prints to get it dialed in just right. Now this is still very strong. It turned out great. It would be fine. I just think I can get a little bit better before I print the entire suit of armor. So that's what I'm doing over here. Now, while I wait for this to print, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do what I said. I'm gonna go ahead and anneal this 6 hours, 80°C in the toaster. Oddly enough, it's the same temperature as the drying temperature, but that's supposed to make it good and hard. And I'm hoping a little bit easier to sand because I think that the harder structure will actually make it easier to sand, but I will find out soon enough. So again, 80°C in my toaster oven again, 6 hours. It is already up to temperature. I do preheat, so I'm gonna put that right there. 6 hours later, it will be ready to sand. So I guess I'm sanding this tomorrow because it's already pretty late here. I'm gonna finish up my test prints. Maybe go ahead and print one more of these if I get all set up and ready to go. This is only about a 3-hour print. I'll see you tomorrow as I sand this and show you what it looks like. All right, back in the garage again for another session working on my armor, and I have 2 different pieces. They're exactly the same and they both have been annealed in my oven here. And basically I just want 2 of the same pieces to just kind of work on, sand, possibly prime, try to see how much work they are to get a good finish on, or maybe after it's annealed, it's just like a dream. It sands down real easy and there's no problem whatsoever. That's what I'm going to find out with these 2 pieces. And I don't know if I'll get to that in this video or if that'll be the next video. But anyway, 2 pieces done and ready to go. Now, what I'm going to finish up this video with is the fact that after about 6 hours or so, that's all I got out of this filament before it had absorbed moisture. And that is with all of the precautions I took. That's with the heated chamber over here. That is with the moisture packs, the desiccant packs that I put in that printer, or excuse me, in that dry box. It was still absorbing moisture after about 6 hours. I heard it. You can hear when this absorbs moisture, it starts popping and hissing and the print quality starts degrading. I got a little bit longer than the 6 hours before it was really degrading the prints, but ultimately 6 hours isn't going to be long enough in order to print full pieces of armor without having to re-dry it. I did have someone say in my comments that they actually print directly from the toaster oven. But I really don't want to have to do that. That's modding the oven. That's figuring out how I'm going to put it to where I'll move in here. And that's also running this heater the entire time, which, I mean, I guess it's not much different than my filament dryer, but it's not something that I really want to do. I already bought like 3 of these filament dryers. And so I'm going to try to salvage what I have. Now, one thing I noticed is that the filament dryer does not go up to the temperature that it states, at least not throughout the entire box. I can get it reporting very close to the temperature that it's stating that it's at, near the very base of the unit where the heating element is, but by the time you get up to the middle of the box, the top of the box, it's nowhere near that. If it's reporting 70C, you're only getting 50, 45 near the middle to the top of that box. So that's definitely lowering the work time that I have on that filament dryer. So what's the first thing you do when you want to hold in more heat? You buy insulation, and that's what I've done here. I went on Amazon. I actually looked at Home Depot first. I really didn't find what I was looking for, at least not on their website. So I went on Amazon. They had next day shipping on this roll of Smart Shield insulation. It's not exactly as thick as I wanted it to be, but I figured anything is better than a single ply of acrylic at keeping in heat. In fact, the only holes I really want to keep open on here, just for safety's sake, are the holes in the top of the center, and then I can cover all of the other exit holes that I'm not using, the ones near the bottom here, which is where most of the heat is going to escape. And just the general, this isn't a very insulating material, and so that's not really what I want to do. So I think it's actually going to be pretty easy to take this insulation, draw a pattern around this box. I have some metal insulation tape. This is the aluminum insulation tape they use on your ducts and stuff at home. And I should be able to build a bit of an insulation koozie for my filament dryer, and I'm going to see how much of a difference that makes in the working time of the filament. And I do have another one of my thermometers that, just like the one I'm using in the oven, that I'm going to put in here and measure the temperature, just like I've been doing, like I said, in that center area, keeping it around 45, 50, 55. It varies quite a bit, and I think that I'm hoping that the insulation really comes in handy here. And if so, this was a very inexpensive investment to save these filament dryers and to make them a much more solid investment. So let me go here. I'm going to just work right here on the counter with this insulation. I think I have enough room here. Cut this down, seal it up, and I'll show you the final result in just a minute. So that about does it. It is a hot box now. As you can see, insulation all the way around it. Looks really good, actually turned out even better than I expected it to. Again, left a little bit of ventilation up here in the very top so that it can vent and not overheat. I have the port that I'm going to be using to get the filament out of the box, which I may have to move around a little bit because I think I made it a little too tight. And one of the things I like to do, I like to make things modular in case I change my mind or in case it just doesn't work the way I expect it to. And so this is a koozie. It does come off. It can be put on and off of here as needed in case it causes it to overheat, or in case I'm printing with some other filament like a PLA and it doesn't need this much heat retention inside the box. So what I'm going to do now, this is just about done drying. I'm going to pull it out, get it into my FIXDRY filament dryer, get the temperature meter in there. We're going to see how it holds up the heat in the box. Now, obviously, when I first moved this over to it, this is retaining heat. And so until it's been in there for a couple hours, it won't actually be all the heat that it's generated. It will also be the heat coming from here. So in a few hours, I should know though whether it's retaining its own heat better than it did before. So let's get this in here. I will go ahead in a few minutes and get a print going, and we'll see how it's doing. We'll see if this actually bought me anything or if it was a net zero. Let's find out. All right, final part of the vlog. I am done with this print, and it is a good 18 hours since I dried the filament that is in this filament dryer. And basically, I had one that was printing and it failed on me. It was looking beautiful, and this was about 10 hours into it. So I know that the dry box was working for at least about 10 hours before I ever heard any kind of popping or anything from the filament. So overall, it definitely helped the amount of time that I get to print. And so definitely a win on the installation. I also noticed on the thermostat that I have in there and the thermometer I have in there, I was getting a nice solid 50°C the entire time. So it has really stabilized the temperature in there. I'm not getting 70°C unfortunately, so that's a bit of a disappointment, but at least I'm getting a lot better than I was. They're still good dryer boxes. I just wish that they got a little bit higher because it would keep the filament a little bit longer. So what I want to see though is, like I said, a few hours, maybe at the beginning of this print or a couple hours into this print, I did start hearing a few pops and hisses and stuff, noticing that there was a little bit of moisture creeping into the filament. I don't think it was too bad though. Let's see what it looks like. All right, came off just fine. Let's look at the results. Overall, I think the results look actually really good still. There's some sort of banding that I am getting on this filament. I can't tell if it's the printer. I can't tell if it's exactly what's causing the banding. I'm not too concerned about it. Since these are prints that I'm going to have to sand down anyway, that kind of result, it could be a little over extrusion. Let me see, I get in there, get my face out of it, see if it'll focus on that. I don't know exactly what this texture is. It could just be from the printing. It could be a little over extrusion, but I think I was getting it on multiple printers, so kind of a factor of the print itself or of the filament itself. So let me see how easy these supports come off of here. It does recommend that you quickly get the support off of here, and this print's been going for a while, so I don't know how easy or difficult these supports will be to get off of here. All right, this is my favorite support removal tool, these angled pliers. See if we can get that off of here. A little bit of energy to get it off, but I actually am real happy with the finish that I'm seeing underneath it. That came right off. Everything came off. Little bit of stringy, you know, things on the back. I am not worried about that at all. That's all gonna get covered. Interesting thing here, apparently I need to give it a little less time on those last layers. You know, there's usually like a minimum layer time, and it looks like it's over melting the filament, taking too long doing that last little piece, so it doesn't need that minimum layer time since it's not actually having to cool anything as it's going. Looks like that's actually creating more of a problem. Hopefully that sands down just fine. Comparing this or mating it up to the print that I did before, I think this one goes right here. Yeah, so that goes right here. They look pretty good. I think that goes there. Yeah, that goes there. There we go. Two pieces of the chest printed. A lot of finishing to be done, but overall I'm happy with this. This one will need to be annealed. And that's it for this video. That's it for this vlog. I have taken up enough of your time, but I appreciate you spending so much time with me today in the shop. In the next video, I'm probably going to spend a little time showing you the sanding and polishing process, trying to get these nice and smooth. We're going to see how much work they take to actually take down to a nice smooth finish once they're annealed. And that's probably going to be most of the next one, plus showing you all of the things that I've printed, because I'm getting very close to this constant process, I think, of drawing and printing. I've got 3 different printers I plan on doing this on, maybe 4 if you count the old Ender 5 for the smaller detail pieces. I'm also going to have a lot of the detail pieces and some of the more wear and tear, like wearable parts, I'm going to be doing on the resin printer and some of my engineering grade resins. So I think that about does it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Patreon supporters over here flying by. Thanks to these guys for making all of this happen. If you want to help out with this project, if you like what I produce here on this channel, everything from my Ender 5 content to this kind of content with the cosplay and just showing you how I print things, please consider joining Patreon. Every coffee that you can buy me helps with this process, and I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Crazy Fabrications. I'll see you in the next one.